Welcome back to We Lead Anyway. I'm Noelle, Senior Leader, Career Coach, and your host. So today we're going to play a game. It is called Corporate Buzzword Bingo. If you've ever sat in a meeting and heard someone say, let's just take this offline, and you felt your soul slowly, quietly leave your body, you might relate to this one. So stick around. Now, for some reason, we all stop speaking like humans at work. Nobody has ideas anymore. Everyone has actionable insights. Your team, oh, they're not busy or just we're heads down. And nobody even disagrees anymore. Did you disagree? No. I pushed back respectfully while holding space for alignment. Alignment on what? Nobody knows. We're all just aligned on being aligned. Now, I want to start with the queen of them all, synergy. I said it, synergy. All right. I want you to picture the first person who said this in a meeting, and everyone they just let it happen. Nobody stood up. Nobody said, that's not a word that we need. And now here we are, decades later, still synergizing like it means something. Then, then you've got circle back, my favorite corporate phrase for, I don't want to answer this right now, but I also don't want to say no in front of all these people. So I'm going to invent a future version of myself who will deal with this. That future woman never shows up, by the way. She's a myth, like Bigfoot. Bandwidth. That's another one. I don't have the bandwidth for that. Sure, sure, sure. But what you mean is, I don't want to do that. But I went to leadership training and they told me not to say no directly. So now I talk about myself like I'm a Wi Fi router. And here's the thing though, I'm talking about this because it actually matters, right? We're talking about buzzwords because, yeah, they're annoying, but they're not just annoying, they're armor. We reach for vague corporate language when we're avoiding something real. Instead of, look, I disagree with this plan. We say, I want to push back and offer an alternative perspective for alignment purposes. That's just 7 words doing the job of 3. And I'll tell you that the leaders that I respected the most, they don't talk like that. They just say what they mean. I don't think this is going to work. And here's why. Or listen, I made a mistake. Or no, just no, a whole sentence. It's revolutionary. So, what sparked this? Because, yeah, buzzwords have been around forever. Well, a listener sent me an article a couple of weeks ago written by a gentleman by the name of John Spence. Sent it over on LinkedIn. Thank you, Dex. And I read it and I had this visceral reaction to it because it named something that I've watched play out in almost every organization I have worked in. The idea is simple. People don't stay quiet at work because they don't care. They stayed quiet because they learned, observed, or experienced that speaking up came at a cost. So that they just don't. And for those who can't stay silent, they use corporate speak. Saying what you mean is uncomfortable. I don't have bandwidth for this costs you nothing. I don't want to take this on right now. That does cost you something. It opens you up. Someone might push back respectfully. Someone might be disappointed in you or decide that you're not cut out for the job. Buzzwords let us participate in a conversation without actually being in it. Now, somehow, somewhere along the way, we decided that vagueness was the same thing as professionalism and safety. That the more padded and indirect your language, the more polished you sounded and the less risk you were of being at risk. But think about who actually gets remembered as a great communicator. It's never the person who mastered the art of saying nothing in more words. It's the person who could tell you the hard thing in one clear sentence and still leave everyone feeling respected with psychological safety and maybe even a little bit of hope. So let's put a pin in that. You see what I did there? What this episode is really about is awareness about what's happening with all the corporate speak, right? Buzzwords, they're not just filler, they're a symptom. When a workplace runs on vague language, it's usually because direct language has been punished. Somewhere along the way, someone said what they actually meant. It went badly, and the whole team learned, we can't say that. We got to speak in coded phrases." So think about it. No one is born saying, "Let's circle back." We learn it. Usually, because the first time we said, "No, I don't have time for that," someone made it a problem. So we had to adapt. We wrap the honest thing in the cushioning that can't be used against us. How sad is that to have to do in a workplace? It breaks my heart just a little because buzzwords, that's what happens when a workplace has trained people to protect themselves instead of trust each other. And I get it, I've done it too. I've said, "I want to be respectful of everyone's time," when what I meant was, "This meeting should not exist. Why are we doing this still every single week?" I have said, "Let's align on next steps." What I really wanted to say is, "Listen, homie, I need you to do the actual thing that you said you'd do last week." We all do this. It's not a personal failing, there's no judgment. The one that I am keeping though is per my last email because it's just passive enough to fly by HR's radar and aggressive enough to make someone's sphincter tighten just a little. But here's what I've noticed after years of watching teams up close: the teams that actually trust each other, the ones with real psychological safety, they use less of this language. When you know disagreement won't cost you the relationship, the role, the opportunity, you stop tap dancing around what you actually mean. I love this. So, if you're a leader listening to this, the buzzwords on your team might be a symptom. It might be a trust issue, and you might want to pay attention to it. If you get a double click, a low hanging fruit, or a boil the ocean in every meeting, ask yourself what happens when someone on your team speaks plainly. Do they get heard, or do they get labeled difficult or unprofessional? Because that's the real cost here. It's not that synergy is annoying, although it is. It's that an entire workplace can lose its ability to tell the truth to itself. Bad ideas survive longer. Real problems, they get buried under phrases like opportunities for growth. People stop raising their hands because raising your hand plainly has never felt safe. And clarity, real clarity, is one of the most underrated leadership skill there is. Sometimes clarity sounds like, "Oh, I was wrong," or "My idea is not working." The sentences, maybe they don't sound sophisticated, but they sound human. And humans are what we're actually trying to lead here. All right. So if you want to do a little homework, do a little reflection this week, catch yourself the next time you reach for one of those words and ask what you're actually trying to say underneath it. And then say that instead, not to be blunt or shocking for the sake of it, but because clarity and directness is a form of respect to your team. It tells the other person, "I trust you enough to tell the truth. And and I trust myself enough to survive your reaction to it," which is dope. The most professional thing you can do in a room full of vague language isn't finding a fancier way to say nothing. It's being the person who says the true thing the right way, gently maybe, stays in the room after you've said it, and owns it. That's leadership. Also, if your workplace has an actual bingo card going around with those words on it, please, I am begging you for the love of Pete, send me a photo. I need to see it. What's the corporate buzzword that makes you want to walk deep into the sea? Tell me, drop it in the comments. Anyway, if you have a topic that you'd like me to discuss, please email me at noelleleadsanyway@gmail.com. And if you're interested in personal or professional development, please visit leadwithnoelle.com. Until next time, go take up space.